So looks like I'm going to have to dedicate an entire video to Atheism 101 type subject matter. Because there was a video made last night that pretty much accused me of intellectual dishonesty, indirectly, albeit. But accusation was made nonetheless. And yeah, so just say to anyone who's looking for something out of the ordinary, this is just going to be basic atheist rebuttals of people trying to add credibility to certain hypotheses that have no credibility whatsoever. So yes, I initiated this, to be fair. Jedi Master Boo Boo made a few videos that questioned why we are able to perceive of things that have nothing to do with reality. So pretty much the end goal, the point that she's trying to drive home is, well, if somebody can conceive of Dumbo and Cinderella, well, then those things might have something to do with reality just by the mere fact that they're conceivable. So I go in there and I do my thing, and then she makes a video. Well, actually, no, I should also point out that there's also, in this whole mix of conversation, people who call nature stupid were called irrational, and that's also what drew me in. So yeah, like nature gives you a steel rod up your ass as a natural body part. You're not supposed to be pissed off at that. You're just supposed to chalk it up and say, well, at least it's doing its circle of life bullshit. So that's just unacceptable. So I go in there and I do my thing, and then on her second to last video, I'll have to post the comment section in its entirety, just so you guys can see my comments. I hope they're still there by the time you click on them, if you choose to click on them, because YouTube's been eating comments up. So I do that. She uploads a video called God's Moral Compass, which is the video that really triggered this. Basically, my question was, okay, I have a problem with their skepticism, basically. These theists who are so skeptical of the something from nothing atheistic explanation. But never once do they talk about in their videos, have I seen on YouTube, I've never seen one time a deist or a theist ponder where God gets their moral compass from, or how God managed to exist for all of eternity. And it really is ironic, because they spend so much time pouncing on atheistic explanations of this, all the while not even showing signs that they're having the same sort of inquiries when it comes to their God. Now, she accused me of assuming that they never do this. Whereas if you guys look at each and every single one of my comments that I left, which I might as well just read, just in case you don't feel like clicking it. So here's comment number 1. Your conclusion that we shouldn't be able to, by default, conceive of things that aren't part of reality is based on nothing. It's just a convenient way for you to poke holes in atheism. And this is really the end goal of all her videos. Second, if any of you were true skeptics that you obviously view yourselves as, your number one question would be, where did God get his moral compass from? I am yet to see a single one of your skeptic friends ask this question. You want to know why? Because they view the question itself as faulty, because they're not true skeptics. Second, so far you've shown zero interest in how exactly God managed to pull off these laws that you found implausible and called misfirings when attributed to evolution. Talk about that instead of nothing but evolution. Apply consistency to your supposed skepticism, and the God answer will be seen for what it is, a non-answer. Asking why we're capable of imagining things that don't exist is not a solid argument. She thinks she's making all these solid arguments by asking this crap. It's a desperate attempt at an argument. People imagine a plethora of different, contradictory nonsense, which proves it has nothing to do with reality. Our mere conceptions aren't linked to reality. Nothing to do with any lack of orientation on atheists' part. She said that atheists are, when it comes to existential questions, we are not really oriented. So I just say, this is you just looking for a way to make whatever evidence you come across fit into your desired preference of our origins. So these are my comments. And what she took from this was that I assumed that all these, deistic skeptics that I'm talking about, what she took from that was that I assumed, through no evidence, that they never ever in their lives questioned these things, which is clearly not what I said. I simply pointed out that they have shown zero signs of doing this on YouTube, where it counts. So it's a completely legitimate criticism. They spend all this time pouncing on evolution and naturalistic explanations, which in that God Moral Compass video, she even said she does attribute morality to, the naturalistic evolutionary paradigm, which just makes the whole thing even more bizarre. But regardless, at one point, when I asked her, when she did start justifying why, whether or not we can conceive of why God has his moral compass, where he gets it from, she used the Bible argument. She used the Bible verse, and she said, well, no, it's above our intellectual capacity, and period. So that begs the question, well, first of all, I mean, using the Bible, I don't see why she did that. I mean, I thought we were having an intelligent conversation. But she used the Bible, and it was period, which just begs the question, if the Bible doesn't answer the question that you spend so much fucking time asking in your videos, well then what's the point of injecting it as an answer to begin with? If God is completely above our comprehension, and I mean, these are the specific questions which you're trying to comprehend, what's the point at poking at atheism constantly, which really is what she's doing? And then the thing that just completely finished me off was, I spent the last 3 videos I made, my last 3 by-the-ways, asking if you're gonna argue with me, don't do the fucking goddamn psychoanalysis. Don't pretend to know that I have an ego problem. Don't pretend that somehow it's the way in which I argue that should, because she said I'm trying to cut people's heads off in my arguments. And she's not willing to do that. So again, it just all comes down to the way in which we argue. She thinks I'm being too rough because I refuse to accept her premises that these are necessary questions. And she thinks I'm being either intellectually dishonest, or secondly, I'm just too dumb to get that they're, legitimate questions. But she won't even accept as a slight possibility that the questions in and of themselves are completely bogus. Why are we able to conceive of things that aren't part of reality? Isn't there something interesting about that? No, there's nothing interesting about that. It can be attributed to our fucking circumstantial upbringings. That's why we all have these bent out of fucking shape, different psychologies that come up with all sorts of, variety of nonsense that has nothing to do with reality because it contradicts itself. I mean, that's the fucking crown jewel of this argument. It contradicts itself. These notions that we invent. There can only be one reality. So if you want to have this fucking debate, at least talk about how there's a multiverse or some other bullshit, okay? But you're doing it under the premise that it's a universe. So I mean, it's a stupid question, and I'm not at fault for not accepting it as a rational premise to argue on. That bullshit is on you. So anyway, getting back to her accusation, first of which is that it's an ego thing. It's my ego that's not allowing me to accept these as valid questions. Bullshit. And then secondly, the way in which I argue, which should be a complete irrelevancy, she's saying there's a 99% chance, roughly, that it's because of my gender. So she's playing the gender bullshit again. Which, again, what the fuck is the point of that? It was just a horrible video. I don't want to have to do a video response to it. But I don't trust the comments because they might just disappear. So I want to have something that has staying power. Again, she just did herself in her own video. She's asking all these questions, and then when it comes time for her to explain why her version of the events is more satisfactory, she just says, well, according to my Bible, it says that it's beyond our comprehension, beyond our scope of thought. So what the fuck? It's just, on its face, it's completely against her entire mission to believe in this bullshit, because she's so overly curious as to why water is wet, and why we have consciousness, and why we have, the add-on, pile-on intelligence, the wisdom, I guess, the traits that aren't necessarily selected for that will ensure our immediate survival, but the traits that are just like long-term survival. We do have that, but we don't use it all the time. So it is sort of an aberration of evolution, and it's just such a tiny little fucking spectrum of an inconsistency in the entire theory. And she's blowing off the entire theory. She called at one point the entire evidence for evolution as a couple of bones, and that's probably is how she views it, a couple of bones. And because there's these traits that are selected for that aren't necessarily, the traits that aren't selected for to ensure our immediate survival, stuff like wisdom, that's supposed to dig a big hole in the theory regardless of the physical evidence.